Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream today. Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. Fast track, firm turf course, another beautiful day here in South Florida. It is a 12 palm tree day. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 or 12 palm tree day. Fast track, firm turf course, $700,000 in the jackpot guarantee today.
We keep on talking the Rainbow Six in terms of the jackpot guarantee. It keeps on growing all the time. 700,000 is a lot of money on the line. And kind of looking at yesterday, pretty good card, some nice races, especially a 2-year-old race we'll talk about a little bit later on today. In today's card, I think there's some really competitive fields as well.
Really competitive fields. We got some stakes action in race number 5, which we were talking about momentarily. So we've done early work here. Main track is fast, turf course is firm. 2 pick 5s today, 3 pick 4s with a 12 race card, 12:20 first post. I remembered everything and didn't screw it up. Now I'm going to give you the early rainbow, the early pick. I did screw it up, the early pick 5.
Looking at the early pick 5, I've been pretty ice cold lately, so we'll see if we can get things changed around here today on the Saturday card. I'll use 2 horses in the opener. I'll go to the horse on the rail, Al Hilal, as well as the number 3, Royal War, my top pick. Race 2, I decided to spread in here. It's 62.50 claimers, non-winners, a 2 lifetime. And I'll use 3 runners in here. I'll use the number 5, Pretzel, one of my favorites, as you know, Ron, the 6, Freezer Burn, and the 7, Lyrical. Race 3's at 1.16 miles on the turf course, and looking at this race for fillies and mares, I'll go to 2 runners. I think it's a 2-horse race really for the top spot between the number 4, Zodiac Princess, as well as the number 8, Kahiko. Race 4, also go 2 deep. This is a $25,000 maiden claiming event for 2-year-old fillies. I think it's between the number 4, Delray Dolly, and then the 6, Greatest Glory is going to wear blinkers for the first time today, which I think is a key change in equipment for her. And then to wrap things up, if I'm still alive here, I use 3 horses in the Miss Gracie. I'm interested in the number 1, Sunshine City, off a very short rest, less than a week for that one, as well as the number 5 and the 7, Starship Enterprise, who I think is going to be pretty tough in here.
Yeah, Starship Enterprise certainly has really changed its run. Come up and just won one stake at double-digit odds and came back and ran very well in an off-the-turf race last time out. So, yeah, they took us to the woodshed yesterday. We didn't know how our selections were. Not the greatest. We had some winners, but not a lot of winners there. Let's get into this first race. It's a mile on the turf. Maiden claim is 3 and up. This is $25,000. We've got logical contender in here right now. It's not the favorite, actually. Both of us went with Royal War, who stretches out to the mile today against Open Company. Been against state-bred competition.
I just think when you look at the last 2, this one really figures to have a big part in today's kind of outcome of the races. It's finished second in those last 2 efforts. More recently at 7.5 furlong, 2 back at a mile. Even at a mile, this one was forwardly placed, battled it around the racetrack as the favorite, just missed by a narrow margin. Certainly has run here well over the Gulfstream Park turf course, and we know we both have some bias. Big fans of Kathleen O'Connell and the work she does. So I think this is a perfect spot for him.
Well, we couldn't do it yesterday, but we got a cold superfecta here in the first race. With the 1 in second, we both have Al Hilal, who's cutting back to the 8 furlongs today, rallying to finish second. Was only beaten a length against Similar. That was going that mile in the 16 for 1 C. Avila, with Chantel handling the inside draw today.
Yeah, and this son of Creative Causes had 2 tries at the $25,000 open level. And you look at the first start, not only was it the first start off the layoff, I watched the replay, had some trouble in there, but still closed from off the pace. And then last time out, Chantel Sutherland climbed aboard for the first time, only missed by a length. So just off that most recent performance at the level and a similar distance, a big player as well.
And, the current test, 7-5 favorite, very early in the wager. We got over 52 minutes left before the first race. Is going to be epic. The number 4 drops to the level today, and that's probably part of the lure. Finished 4th against those 50 maidens on the grass, then comes back and runs poorly against 50,000 types in the main track. But Terry Pompey at second-time blinkers, surface switch. I think the drop's going to help this horse.
I would think so, too, just based off the debut alone and then getting back to the preferred surface. And the winner, 7 channels, I believe we'll see later on today. Seems to be a nice runner as well. So interesting to see how this one, ends up going off as maybe the favorite. I thought this horse would be a little higher on the board.
Yeah, I think things are going to change a little bit, but that's just a guess on my part. The second race today is 5.5 furlongs claimers. They're fillies and mares. They're 3-year-olds and up, and they've never won 2 races in life. And you went with the number 5 horse in here. Let's see who that is.
Pretzel.
Oh, Pretzel. Yeah, one of your favorites. What am I? How can I even ask that question?
No, Pretzel, kind of looking at the record here, has performed pretty well at the distance, broke the maiden 2 starts back, going 5.5 furlongs, and then last time out while facing winners. I just don't think it was her preferred spot. She was stretching out from 5.5 to a mile. I think that was against her, and she was in for the 12-5 tag, so we're slashing that in half today. I think that's going to be a big difference for her, and maybe she can get her second lifetime win here.
Yeah, I mean, she could bounce back certainly in the spot. I did go with the horse you have in second. That's Lyrical, who's been knocking on the door in back-to-back sprints at this level. They may have found the spot where she could notch that elusive non-winners of 2 lifetime conditions. She's had a lot of chances. Gilberto Zerpa, MC El Jaramillo had a multiple win day yesterday.
Yeah, she certainly can kind of get that second win. I think my concern with her, when you look at her races, she broke her maiden over 14 months ago, was then for the $50,000 tag, and then you look at her last 5 efforts, she's always been there, but she hasn't gotten it done. 2 starts back, she just missed behind one of our favorites, Takes 2 to Wiggle. Then last time out, I think it was a big field, and she had too much work to do late.
I put the number 2 horse in second, and that is Lights Out Girl. I want to go back and show you this horse's last race. First, we're going to pick it up, this one going into the first term. And you're just going to see that it's the number 4 horse in here, Lights Out Girl. And I just thought that this horse had some trouble going into the first turn. You're going to see it here. And just, one of these when you're on the inside and the whole big field, it just comes over. And, she can't find that positioning, what she needs. And it happens so much in these big fields, especially if you don't have that, quick early speed. So you could see her getting steadied back right there, and she's basically last in a couple of jumps after that, which we see. And then we pick it up in the stretch, and she is over there. And I thought she ran nicely to come in on the inside, and she was running very well at the end. So she had to make up a lot of ground, and you could see she's game right to the finish line. So if you see going into the first turn, it was bad luck, and she runs exceptionally well in there. So you might want to go back and look at that horse and maybe throw it on the ticket off that performance last time out. So I wanted to go back and show you. And then went to the inside with Anita, who's going to break from the rail after breaking from outside, turn back to 5.5, might be key for her. You could see we're wide open in this small field deal of 7. I think we have 1 horse the same, no, 2 horses the same.
Yeah, and they're all kind of all over the place. We don't have them in the same position. You mentioned Anita on the rail. I think this one's interesting, just has that early foot. You mentioned the cutback. Now the inside draw. We'll just have to see how far she can carry herself.
Yeah, so it's a wide open race, especially except for Ashley, who likes pretzel, and that's it, and likes pretzels too. I happen to know that. Not as much as me, but she likes pretzels. Race number 3, I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm just getting carried away about pretzels. Third race, mile and 16th on the turf. Allowance optional claimer. Fillies and mares 3 and up. Their optional tag of $25,000. Let's start it off with your top horse in here. Before we get into it, we're just going to show you Kahiko's last performance. We're going to pick it up from the top of this stretch where Kahiko just cruises by the pace setter and just wins very impressively last time out.
She's been kind of interesting to watch here at Gulfstream Park because she's had some troubled trips. She had a win 3 starts back where she still got up, had a trouble trip, and then this one, it just looked so easy for her. They gave her 2 months off, and she came back ready to roll with a career best buyer of an 82.
Yeah, it just looked like the rest of the horses. I don't know what happened. They stopped running. It was very impressive in the stretch, so I can understand having this horse on top of your ticket this afternoon. So, but you did go with the number 4 horse in here, Zodiac Princess, who's stepping up to the competition, rallied to defeat those starter allowance for Laura Cesares.
Just think when you look at this mare, she's a little more seasoned than Kahiko, and she's a 5-time winner locally from 18 starts. She's been in the money 13 of 18 on the turf course. 1 last time out in a starter allowance. I believe she's been entered since then. We didn't get to see her race. She was a scratch out of there, but her last 2 efforts have been really tough against starter allowance competition. She's had to face Sugar Fix. They've kind of had a rivalry in their last couple, and they've turned the tables on one another. I'm just going with maybe a little bit more experience.
And the number 10, who you have a little further down on your ticket than I do, Smart Spending. One of the things I've never been able to do myself is spend smartly, stretching out after returning from a couple of month layoff to finish, a useful 5th, good, similar going to mile. I thought it was okay, and I like the fact that Edgar Zayas jumps aboard. There's no world beaters in the spot. I think if this horse can take a little step forward, up that performance, needed the last one maybe, it can be on the ticket.
I mean, listen, it's Victor Barboza Jr., Edgar Zayas, 20% here at Gulfstream Park, and she's just going to make her second start off that little bit of refreshing. She had about 8 weeks off, and she was closing from off the pace last time out, and she was kind of making up ground, but not as much as she typically does. So I think she's going to improve second off the layoff. I just used her further again. She's a 3-year-old filly. These are some deeper waters.
And what about the number 3 horse in here? I was thinking of using this, of course, a little further up the ticket, ended up putting it back. We basically have the same super, just boxed around, and that's, it's a snow shower, the British bred.
I feel like Patrick Bincombe's runners, they've done really well when you were out of town. He had a firster win. He had another firster finish second by just a tad margin there. This one, I think the interesting thing is this one's had a bit of a layoff. We haven't seen this one since late May. She finished third behind Drapes and Una Luna. Una Luna came back to win next time out. Drapes seems to be a pretty nice horse for Tom Proctor, who's kind of improved with every start under her belt. She's just lightly raced here in North America, so you don't know what you're getting yet. I thought the price might be right. She's 9-2, but wouldn't be surprised to see her float a little higher.
Well, let's go to race number 4 this afternoon. A 6.5 furlong sprint. These are maiden claiming filly 2-year-olds. $25,000. Always fun when you get these 2-year-olds running. And you did go with the number 4 horse in here, and that's Del Rey Dolly, who's stepping up today to the 25 level.
She is stepping up, but I think when you look at the horses that have raced, she has the best race coming into here. She was second, beaten by 3 lengths, and she was closing from like the back flight. She also looked a little green in the stretch there. That was going 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. She's going to stretch out. That should help her. And if, you want to go back to her debut, clearly she didn't want any part of the turf.
Yeah, and the barn has been going so good, and Edwin Gonzalez jumps aboard, and I see it as a lateral move. I don't really see it as a jump up in competition. I did go. We got our exacta flip-flop. I went with Greatest Glorious wheeling back after finishing a distant second in front of a pair of next-out winners. So key race, you knew I was going there. So it was a fruitful sprint at this level and distance for owner-trainer Dan Peter. Christian Torres in the saddle today. And I just like the race that this one comes out of.
When she's been in the $25,000 level, I think she's been competitive. Her debut was only a field of 4 made in special weight competition. She was last in there, draw a line through it. But since she's been in for the claiming price, she's been there, or at least kind of been close enough to it in the end. 2 starts back when she finished 4th. She was beaten by less than 3. She was part of the pace scenario. And then they switched the tactics last time out. Christian Torres was aboard when she finished 2nd, back aboard today.
Back aboard this afternoon. And then the number 1 horse, a horse I did not use, you have in 3rd. So let's hear about Cupid Austin.
Just been looking at this one's workout tabs. It's their first time starter by Cupid, trained by Scott Acker. And you look at the workouts, she's had some slower workouts going forward in 3 furlongs, but her last 2, I've seen a progression in them. Her most recent Breeze, 36-1 out of the gate. That showed a little bit of a wake-up call for me. And in this race, I mean, you look at others in here that have race day experience. Some of them haven't shown much, so I'm going to go with the firster and hopefully get a price.
Yeah, the same thing I did with the 3s. It's the daughter of Ocean Knight by Curlin. So I saw Curlin debuting for Armando de la Cerda, string of solid workouts. I just thought I see Curlin anywhere on the breeding lines. I give the horse a second look.
Yeah, and this is one, they paid what the stud fee was for this filly, but her works too. She's another one. She's had 5 works under her belt. Her most recent was her best. It was a while back, which is why I used her just 1 spot lower than you, since she hasn't worked in almost a month. But the barn does well, debuting with maiden claimers, 12%. That's all right.
We got stakes action early on in the card in race number 5, and it is the Miss Gracie, and it's about 7.5 furlongs on the firm turf course for fillies, 3-year-olds, $75,000. And the number 7 Starship Enterprise. We're going to go back 2 starts and show you this horse's performance. We're going to pick it up from the 3/16 poled home. And what an exciting race this was. You're going to see Starship Enterprise, just as always on these turf courses, about to trip and just has to find that little seam, and certainly finds this little seam. This was a great finish here, and this horse is 30-1 that afternoon, so just gets through and gets in and just gets up under the wire. So certainly a performance. So you say, the horse was 33-1 in that first race. What I liked about this horse, Ashley, comes back, they take the Monroe Stakes off the turf, and this one runs a really good second.
Yeah, beaten by neck and still went off at not quite 33-1, but 15-1 in there. I mean, you look at her record, she came back on the turf. Her numbers were slightly better on the turf, but even in the Monroe, that was a big race from her. She was second to Key Biscayne, who ran a huge performance as well. And she's intriguing in the sense that it took her a while to break her maiden. She was always there. They tried different things, closer to the pace, further back. She was just trying to get the job done. She tried, and now on her last 3, she's really stepped up.
Yeah, it's the old light bulb went off angle. The horses are just in good form. But, you keep going, and you sort of a little bit afraid. The horse like this, were those just those 2 races an aberration, or is going to run well in here? I kept going back, and I almost put the number 1, who you have in second, Sunshine City, who's turning back to the mile. She used her speed just a few days ago to post her 2nd consecutive victory. She's got speed. That's the thing in there. Does she go to the front and just
Yeah, I've been a big fan of this filly and just what she's accomplished. She's a 3-time winner this year from 8 starts. She's won her last 2 pretty easy, and that's what she does. When she wins, she makes the lead easy usually. She keeps on kicking, and last time she won by almost 6 lengths. This is obviously a step up from her, but she's faced several of these runners here before. She's beat Kate's Kingdom on several occasions, as well as Frankie's Girl. We'll just see if she can keep it going. The only reason I kind of decided to use her for second is the short rest.
Yeah, the short rest coming back, but might have the tactical advantage in that race. What are you doing? We both have the number 5 TikTok famous, the Great Britain bred. This is one of 3 entered in the field by Saffie Joseph Jr., so he's got a 3-prong attack. This one's got to hope to bounce back after following that really nice maiden victory with an absolutely broke slow and never got involved in the Honey Rider Stakes last time out. I'm a forgiving sort, so I'm going to put a line through the race and think this horse might run well.
I don't know what to do with her because I'll be honest, when she broke her maiden, I'm pretty sure if we can go back and find that tape, I didn't use her at all and then was like, wow, like pretty big performance. I mean, she had an 82 buyer, gate to wire. It looked really easy for her. She did have Lasix, though, in that race. And then in the stakes, she didn't run with Lasix. Is that part of it? Was it just suck it off the layoff after such a big performance? Now she's had another break, so maybe that's what she needed. Maybe she needed the break, or maybe it's a Lasix thing.
You make a great point with the Lasix. I didn't think of that. You don't realize, stakes races, of course, here, we don't use Lasix on horses, and sometimes that's a reason for maybe a little bit of a bad performance. So I would not be surprised. And as I mentioned, Saffie's got a 3-prong attack in there, and of course, he's our leading trainer since day one, just about. 6th race this afternoon. We're going back to the main track. It's 6 furlongs, 2-year-olds, $16,000. I went with the number 9 in here, but you did. We'll start with your horse, and that's the number 7, Adventure Seeker, who's free-falling to this level today.
She's free-falling. I'm not really, I should say I'm not really worried about the last race. He was well defeated. It was a big jump up in class from that 50,000 to maiden special weight. I say it was just a big jump up. When you look at the top 2 in there, they went to the Florida Sire Stakes. I know they didn't perform well, but King Cab did have some trouble and was pulled up, but he's okay out of that race. So I think he really did face tough competition last time out. Now, when you look at the debut, finished 3rd. He needed to find more. He didn't, but now he's in for 16,000. So I think this is probably the spot he needs to be in. They haven't worked him since then. They're just going to go, and Kathleen does well with her 2-year-olds.
Yeah, we're both charter members of the Kathleen O'Connell fan club, so I think that horse is going to run well. But I did go with the number 9, Beast from the East, who's dropping to the 16 level today. Followed that 5th place finish behind a firm stakes winner, Octane. That was under special weight conditions with a 3rd place finish against 35 maidens last out for Rory Miller. Jesus Rios in the saddle, sort of flattered by Octane coming back and running so well.
Yeah, it was a huge performance in the Florida Sire Stakes. Was able to just get to the front eventually and just kick on clear and had enough left. I think when you look at this colt, you look at his other 2 races, draw a line through the maiden special weight, when he's been in for the tag, whether it's been the turf or the dirt, they've both been good performances. So for me, I really did have a tough time kind of distinguishing between the 7, 8, and 9 because I think they're all really similar.
Yeah, they are. And the number 8 horse, as you mentioned, second, and it is a Venezuelan.
Yep.
Yeah, Venezuelan Triad's back after rallying, finished second. That was a good race too that this horse comes out of. Miguel Vasquez for Victor Barboza Jr.
Well, it doesn't help when you're second to your stablemate, Venezuelan first. I mean, they were 1-2 in that race, so obviously happy for Victor Barboza Jr., but this one was just second best to the stablemate. He was closing from off the pace. It was a good performance. The 3rd place finisher, Eternal Rest, came back to win next time out. That was at the $16,000 level, so we're staying the same. The only thing that I found interesting, I always say Victor Barboza Jr., all these big numbers. With maiden second time out, only 3%, so maybe that's something to know.
Write that down. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to write that down. It was 3%, and we will be back with race number 7 in my Rainbow 6 ticket.
In the 2-path. Round off first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Ron and Ashley, fast main track, firm turf course. Big news today besides these great races is $700,000 jackpot guaranteed pool in the Rainbow Six, which this 12 race card starts in race number 7. We got my ticket. It's $32.40 today because I found a single. And I went 3 deep in here. Now, number 2, Lady J, is my long shot. Is that your long shot today?
I used this one underneath, but I knew this was your long shot.
Yeah, and La Rusia and also Cactus Kitten. 2 deep in race number 8 this afternoon. I had a scratch in it, so she's so beautiful, looks tough to me with last leaf. And then 3 deep in race number 9 with Brett's World, Shanghai Ronnie. I don't know what to do with that horse. I didn't want to get beat. The horse dropping and going to the grass today. And traceability in there. The 3 horse in race number 10 is my single. Superstitious, I think it's pronounced Superstitiu is where I heard Pete say it. This horse had unbelievable amount of trouble last time out and was able to finish second. We'll talk about that. And lots of coverage in race number 11 and race number 12 for me. So my day is hinging on race number 10 this afternoon.
Yeah, you got some prices built in here, though. You got that single, and this is a cheaper ticket than we usually see for you. I was expecting the 43.20.
Well, I had that single this afternoon, so putting all my eggs in one basket, as they say. Well, at least somebody says that. Race number 7 today, mile on the turf. These are claiming fillies 3 or fillies and mares, non-winners of 2 in life. And as I mentioned, the Lady J, I'm just going to go up and we're going to just show you this horse's last performance, for David Fawkes. We're going to just pick it up at the top of the lane. And Lady J, I thought, ran exceptionally well. She wins in this race going away. So I just thought it was a really nice performance. And it's non-winners of 2 stepping up. 12-1 on the morning line. That sold me on making this horse my long shot. I thought this was a great performance at the end just to get up. And I'm not frightened of anybody in this race.
Now, this is a tough race. It's wide open. I think in the case of Lady J, it was a huge performance first off the layoff. Now this is a good spot for her to face winners for the first time out. And then just looking at the connections, I did find a trainer stat here, I should say, for trainer David Fawkes, just looking at how he does with maiden winners last out the past 2 years. It's a good number. 22% from a sample size of 37 in terms of wins. 38% in the money with a $3.10 ROI. I swore that I picked her. I must have decided to go in a different direction, but I remember she did make my short list in here, Ron. I just think she's sneaky, and she's one to specifically watch the tote board action on.
Well, over the years, that one of my favorite angles is David Fawkes making a second start when he had a winner last time out. And like I said, this is just too lifetime. But you did go with the number 3 horse in here, and that's Glitter Bay. I had a little further down on my ticket.
Yeah, this one's had a couple months off this filly. She was claimed last time out for 12.5 from Safi Joseph Jr. Now enters the barn of Gilberto Zerpa, which it is kind of hard to improve off of Safi, but Gilberto wins at 29% first off the claim. And this filly seems to be working well since making the barn change the last 2 works, 48 flat, more recently over the slop. Now, this is a turf race. It has 4 races here locally, 2 second-place finishes to show. And last time out, I think you can draw a line through that race. It was washed out, and then prior to that, she had been in some deeper water. She was actually second a few starts back behind Porquet No, who rattled off a stakes win up north, and has turned out to be a pretty nice filly. So we'll see what she can do here, getting back on the turf.
The horse that we both have in second is the number 10, La Rusia, who's turning back to the mile after making the move to get the lead before settling for second, going a mile in the 16th. The obvious concern on this filly is the penchant for finishing second and third. 21 starts, only that 1 win, 10 seconds and 3/3.
A classic case of seconditis, my favorite word to use at the racetrack. 9 second-place finishes here at Gulfstream Park over the turf from 16. Another interesting thing, another runner in here that we both use a little bit, Cactus Kitten, has beaten her on several occasions, has finished right in front of her. I just thought last time out it was a better performance from her. She was just there kind of all steps of the way. Finished second, beaten by 2.5. Edgar Zayas was aboard then. Has actually been aboard for some of her better performances, and he's back in the irons today.
I have Cactus Kitten in third, is going back to the grass. Good on the turf, 2 back, bad on the dirt last time out. So, it's a logical horse maybe for the Trier Super. Tell me about the 4, Happy Thought.
Happy Thought, he wasn't sure what to do with this one, but Tom Proctor, the barn's been doing really well. This is one that's going to get significant class relief. Was in some tougher races, 2 starts back and a starter allowance, only beat 1 runner, but broke the maiden 3 starts back with a 71 buyer. Decisively against $35,000 maiden claimer, so I think she finds herself in a better spot today. She's going to get a new rider. He's actually piloted her before. Kibar Koa piloted her back 4 starts back at Tampa, so she's intriguing. I think she'll offer value.
And you know, race number 8 this afternoon is a 6 furlong allowance optional claim of fillies, 2-year-old, $75,000. This is the only scratch that I think that might have, affected some people, and that's the number 2 horse Story Told. We haven't mentioned a lot of scratches because there really hasn't been a lot of scratches on the card. A lot of them are main track onlys. I just thought the race, as you did too, goes through. She's So Beautiful, try and make it 3 in a row. Proved her maiden score wasn't a one-shot deal. She came right back to win again for Carlos David. Sold me right there. I think this is a good one. Maybe last leaf grabs a Sharon here.
Yeah, and kind of looking at the field, she's beaten several in here, and a lot of the races have turned out to be productive ones. Even though she was third in her debut on the turf, Diabolic went on to win a stakes race up at Woodbine, and this one went on to graduate next time out. So I just think she's the one to beat. The way she's won, it's been pretty easy.
And last leaf looks to make amends. Dueling for the lead finished 5th as the odds on choice behind She's So Beautiful. The word was out on this horse last time out.
It was, and I think this filly kind of struggled last time out because she didn't break as sharp as she did in her other 2 starts. She kind of had to really rush up there, and then she had to duel, and she tired in there. She was favored, though, and She's So Beautiful was able to get the win there. So I'm hoping that she just breaks sharper than she showed, and then, maybe she will challenge the horse that we use on top.
Let's go to race number 9. The mile in is 16th on the turf. Claim is 3-year-olds or 4 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. It's where our final pick 4 starts. Let's take a gander at your ticket.
And looking at the sequence in terms of my ticket, $24 play. I just used 2 runners in here. The number 2, Holy Meister, my top pick, as well as the number 4, Shanghai Rani. I'm using some prices, or at least I think they'll be prices, 5-1 and 8-1. Race 10, I'll use 2 runners in here. When I looked at the field, I felt pretty confident in this, especially with the scratch. I'll use the number 3 for Gustavo Delgado, and then my long shot on the card, 6-1. The number 5, Mosey, who just has a beautiful pedigree. I think this one looks really nicely bred. We'll see how he handles the dirt today. Race 11, clearly I had kind of no clue. I thought it was so wide open. I used 4 runners in there, the 1, 4, 6, and 11. And then to wrap things up in the nightcap, I'll use 3 runners in here. I was going to just use 2. I was between the number 4, Bono, and the 6, Tapping. But I thought the number 1, Malibu Mandate, could step up here. Had a poor performance last time out, but has been competitive at the level in the past.
Yeah, races 11, 12. I'll use 3 and 3, and there's wide open races in here. Getting back to race number 9, I went a little different way in here. I went with the Brett's World, who gets really a tepid nod for me after setting modest early fractions last time out and still getting nailed at the wire when sent off at 18-1 last time out for Bobby DeBona. You go back and look at that race. This horse was just sort of loping on the lead and still wasn't able to win. So shaky call for me. This race, as you can see by our selections up there, is just a wide open affair. You did go with the number 2 horse in here. And Holy Meister certainly has a shot. I was, as you can see, a little confused by this race.
Yeah, I think we're both confused. I think when you looked at the number 7, Brett's World, really stepped up on the turf last time out, but was cold on the tote board, 18-1. And the only other turf effort was when trying to break the maiden against Tougher. I don't know what to do with the horse. I went to Holy Meister. I just thought last time out, only had 1 start while in that barn. Just a very quick start, claimed again, but it was on the main track and it was muddy. This horse, it was the first dirt start. Clearly, he doesn't want dirt. His turf races, though, he's been quite competitive. 6 for 7 in the money, broke the maiden 2 starts back for the $35,000 claiming price, going 7.5, but that was back in April, so he's had some time off twice now. I just thought he was interesting, and I don't know if I'll get 5-1. I think that's being hopeful and wishful.
Yeah, Mario Fuentes is riding the horse this afternoon for his dad. So we got a little bit of a dad and a son connection there, and the rider no longer a apprentice this afternoon. Boy, I mentioned when I was talking about my Rainbow Six ticket, Shanghai Ronnie is getting a slew of really calmer changes today when he plunges to the 12-5 level, debuts on the turf after following a pretty nice debut and victory, doesn't run against those 75 optional claimers, going 6 on the dirt for Louis Roussel. Really respect what he does. And he's got MSL Jaramillo handling, just throwing the kitchen sink at this horse.
Going to be interesting to see what happens. You mentioned a drop, and obviously only, coming in for the 12-5 tag, trying the turf for the first time. Misael, though, and Louis Roussel team up at 36% here at Gulfstream Park. Dirt to turf angle, not very strong for the barn, but I just thought this one was intriguing, and clearly, they're going to try something new.
Well, let's go to race number 10 this afternoon. It's a 6 furlong sprint. And as I was talking about my single, the number 3, Superstition, I want to go back and show you this horse's lace. First, we're going to show you the head-on of the start when this horse breaks in a tangle. There's number 2 that day. And this gets break tangle and, is behind the 8 ball already. Then you're going to just see this horse goes up and runs well. He switches to he's back here, and watch when this horse turns for home. I personally thought, now I don't know how to ride horses, as you know, but I just thought that this horse had some room to go on the inside, but the jock didn't see it that way. That's fine. And then takes this horse all the way to the outside, and I just thought that course this horse the race there. He had to go 5 wide on the turn, and he comes back and he still manages to finish second. So putting it all together, I just thought this horse ran exceptionally well. Is coming on, had broken a tangle, had to switch out 5 wide, and comes over and still manages to finish second.
Yeah, and as only misses by half a length, so you do wonder if it definitely came down to trip in there. Looking at Supersticio, I think the other thing is you have some first-time starters in here out of the horses that raced. I do think on paper he probably is the one to beat. I just took a stab with a long shot in here just based on pedigree, but you're going to get a new rider today aboard your top selection, Edgar Zayas, and Gustavo Delgado does very well with 2-year-olds.
Yeah, and you went with the number 5 Mosey, who's a $230,000 son of Uncle Mo, and it hurt not to put an Uncle Mo on top of my ticket. I love the progeny of Uncle Mo. This one debuting for Kathy Ridfall.
And you look at the mare side of the pedigree, she was a 3-time winner, won a Group 1, won the 1,000 Guineas, so she's certainly talented, and her foals have gone for quite the pretty penny. You mentioned $230,000. The workout tab is interesting. A slow work coming into this, though. They had a 6 furlong drill, 2 back, maybe to get some stamina in there. And the other drills, they've been pretty sharp. He's had his fair share of workouts. I just thought this one was intriguing. I also saw Mr. Reeves here yesterday, wondering if maybe this is why he's in town. Who knows? So 6-1 on the morning line, lots of intrigue.
Yeah, I saw him up in Saratoga last week, and he told me, I'm going down to Florida. I'll be there all weekend and get some good horses running, so maybe you're right. The 6th, the Classic State of Mind, is the son of Classic Empire by Pioneer of the Nile, debuting for Kelsey Danner. I love the work that she does with her 2-year-olds. She has a 22% win average. Miguel Vasquez was, that was my thought there.
Yeah, there was a scratch in here of the number 2 Sutton Breeze, so this is the one I put in. I started looking. I said, this is a really good horse and live in this spot. You mentioned Kelsey Danner. She's had an outstanding meet, does well with 2-year-olds, and maybe they don't necessarily fire at first asking, but second time out they're good, so I thought this horse was at least one to use underneath.
Well, the race number 11 this afternoon, a mile into 16th on the turf, allowance optional claimer, 3-year-olds and up. I went with the 4 in here, 7 channels. There's no race with the blinkers off today. After following its maiden victory with a stalk to pace 3rd, Lisa Lewis ready to gelding, this gelded son of English Channel. I love English channels on the turf. Bullet 5 furlong drill on the Palm Meadows turf. That's where I went with 7 channels.
This is one of those other cases, another horse that took a while to break the maiden, but has been there just about every single start, and then facing winners for the first time last time out and second time off the layoff. I thought it was a really nice performance. Finished 3rd, buying some nice horses, Ron Spatz' Light Fairy and Croy. Only missed by a length and a quarter.
Yeah, and you have Yamato, what is it, Yamato on top, right? Yeah, Yamato. And this is the morning line favorite. I think I might have missed this horse when I put him a little further down on the ticket.
Yeah, this is obviously turf pedigree all the way by Artie Schiller, who finished 4th last time out after having a couple months off. Had that race 2 starts back at Keeneland, which was Keeneland. It was a tough spot. They wanted to take this horse 1 mile and 5/8. It ended up being on the main track. Prior to that, it was going 1.5 miles and has had some nice races. The big thing is going to close from off the pace. I'm not sure, even though he's performed well going 1 mile. I think he wants to go longer, so maybe this is a race to set him up for something else. But at the extra 16th should certainly help him.
And what about the 11 Louder Than Bombs? It's not going to be a bad post position because we've got going to be 3 scratches to its inside.
This is just a back class factor. I mean, you see this horse, he's been in grade 3 races. He's actually hit the board in grade 3 races. He's not maybe been up to par, but 2 starts back, I thought it was a pretty good performance. And last time out, it was just not necessarily the trip. He flattened out in there. He faced some nice horses. 3rd place finisher Coffee Bean. We saw one yesterday. We did not cash on that, but he's a horse that's just been consistent. I think you have to use in here, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I've been trying to catch Coffee Bean. That horse has been...
I'll never catch that
Yeah,
horse.
throwing to my side. Let's go to the last race of the day, and it says 6 furlong claimer, 3 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. Boy, we finally got an agreement, at least in this last race. We were off on a different tangent there for a couple of races there, but we both did end up with Tapping, who's dropping to this level, posted back-to-back 3rd place finishes against the 12-5 claimers. I think that's the allure here for Gilberto Zerpa.
Yeah, and it's 3rd start off the long layoff. I mean, he debuted pretty nicely back in March of 2020. He's just been 3rd best and is tired in both his efforts, so the class relief should help him.
Yeah, and I think he's the one to beat. I went with Barrel Proof in second, who's cutting back to 3/4 of a mile. Yielded late. He was 38-1, I think, last time out for Joe Cantonese. Maybe this horse can grab a share at at a bit of a price.
Yeah, this one's coming into this race off of one of his better efforts in the last 4 or 5 starts. To me, he's a little inconsistent. I go to the number 4, who I know you use underneath. This is Bono, who I was rooting for very hard last time out to break the maiden and was able to get the job done. Literally needed probably the last 2 strides to the wire to get the head in front. The last couple of races for this one, they've been good enough. I think this is the logical spot to put him based on it. Took him a couple times to kind of break his maiden at the 12.5 level, so I like that he's in for the $6,250 tag.
Well, that's how we see the 12-race card. It's going to be a great betting day, as you can tell, because we're all over the place, and maybe you can figure it out better than us. But we're not done. We got our lightning round this afternoon, and let's get right to it. Big news around here pretty soon that the PETA surface will be ready to go.
Yeah, we're just a couple weeks away from this, and we're going to have a third surface, which makes our track pretty unique here, Ron.
Yeah, it's going to be a third surface, and I did a radio show today, Sirius radio show, and they were asking about it, and I said, this is a nice monkey wrench they threw me on late in my career. I have to learn how to re-handicap, and you could just see that the PETA coming up, it's a mixture of sand and rubber and whatever it is, and the best part about it is that you can use it, all year long, and, if we get the turf races, and, we get a lot of rain here in South Florida, you get this surface, you'll be able to use it all along.
Yeah, and having turf horses in general, any part of the country, especially the last week or so, there's been rain everywhere. If races get rained off and you have to wait longer, you might have to wait another 3 weeks to get a race to go. This obviously will be another surface to have that when we have a washout, we can move to that, and it's, plays better for turf horses.
Yeah, we should be on that in a couple of weeks, I think. So just a great note here from the Florida Horsemen that did a nice job. They gave over 200 backpacks away for the children on the backstretch workers, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, the FHBPA and the backside here, they do a lot of great things for the community and just all the backstretch workers, but now it went back to their kids, which I think is good. And I don't know if the kids are excited to be back in school, but I'm sure the parents are keeping them busy.
I tried to get one, but I certainly didn't hit the age limit in there. Our sister track Laurel finally going to be back on September 9th. Talking about new tracks, the PETA, they got a whole brand new surface there.
Yeah, look at it. It definitely looks like a different color now. It looks a little bit more red in that photo, but excited to finally return to Laurel Park. We're at Pimlico for a while, now been at Timonium at the Big T for the last couple of days, so this is exciting. And then the next day, we talked about it yesterday, we start with that, and then the Stronach 5's back the next day.
We're talking about great horses that we get to see here. We got to see a really nice, beautifully bred horse yesterday, Muted, who was just, made his debut for Tom Pratt. He made a bang, talking about Muted. He was very impressive, a $450,000 2-year-old.
Beautiful pedigree, and to me, this horse performed pretty well, this filly. I mean, the time was a respectable time as well, and just kind of towered over that field in the end. But even the second place and the third place finishers, they ran pretty good races as well. So we'll see what is next for this 2-year-old.
Yeah, it's on Glen Hill Farm and Tom Practice, so that looks like stakes are in that horse's future. About 19 minutes to post, so we got to quickly turn it over to our buddy Pete Aiello. He'll give you all the scratches and changes you need to have a fun day here.